Hi, thank you for joining me today. My name is Anna, and today's class is meant to be a way to clear out the sludge. So whether you have been sitting for a long time today or maybe just have not been able to get away and move much, this class is for you. And we are going to be working especially on getting some mobilization in the ribs and kind of this middle upper back area, and then working on the hips as well. So if you have blocks, I always recommend having them nearby, but if not, you won't necessarily need them. And we are going to get started on our backs. So coming down onto your back with your feet on the floor, your knees bent. And we're just going to start with this triple S feeling. So that is, the first S is the back of the skull moving down into the floor. Second S is your shoulder blades or your scapula down on the floor. And the third S is your sacrum down at the base of your spine on the floor. So imagine just those 3 points in contact with the floor. It's working to have that nice length in the spine. And starting to breathe in and out through your nose. And one more time. Feeling that just ballooning effect of the breath in the ribs, sides and back. And then taking your hands onto the tops of your thighs and start to push these lower back ribs down into the floor so that as we lift up into a low bridge, it's coming from the glutes and not the ribs poking up. If you notice that your chin is jutting up toward the ceiling here, just feel that you can start to lengthen the base of your skull toward whatever's behind you. So we're just lengthening the back of the neck. You can also always have maybe a blanket or a block behind your head. And let's just start to pulse in the hips up and down. And if you are like me and maybe these lower front ribs want to poke up, you can always have a hand on these front ribs, just holding them down so that we can isolate this movement in the glutes and the hips. Nice, keep that breath going. And then take your hands onto your outer hips here, your outer thighs, and we're just gonna give a little resistance here. So you might feel a little work in your biceps as well. And then just start to press the legs out into your hands and back in. Just a little out, a little in. We're just waking up these muscles in the outer glutes. Super important, and a lot of times we have a tendency to underutilize them. Just giving them a little wake-up call. Just keep that breath going. Nice. And then come back through center. Bring your arms up toward the ceiling like you're holding a tray. And we'll take the right hand to the left fingers and just start to pull them back for a wrist stretch. And then while you're doing this, you can push down into your big toe mounds. Start to lift and lower your heels. And then switching hands, left hand pulls the right fingers back. And then let your arms float down to the floor, and super slowly we're just going to roll the spine down one vertebra at a time. Gorgeous. Bringing your hands behind your head, we're going to cup the skull, hug the elbows in toward your temples. Take an inhale breath. Exhale, lift up off your shoulder blades. Now look down at your ribs and hold these lower back ribs down into the floor so you feel these front ribs hold down as well. Inhale and lower back down. Exhale, lift up off the shoulder blades. Keep leaning your head back into your hands without lifting your chin
And then reach your right leg straight out from the knee joint, so your knees are still in line. Perfect. Right foot comes back down. Inhale to lower. Exhale, come up off the shoulder blades. Hold the sacrum, hold these lower back ribs down to the floor. Reach your left leg out, so your knees stay in line there. Nice. Left foot comes back down, and inhale to lower. Exhale, lift up. Right leg reaches. Now turn 1 inch to the right, turning from your sternum, holding this front body down. You got it. Come back through center, right foot down, inhale to lower. Exhale, come up off the shoulder blades. Left leg reaches. Turn 1 inch to the left from your sternum. Keep holding that sacrum down to the floor. Come back through center, foot down, inhale to lower. Adding on here, exhale, lift up. Right leg reaches. Turn 1 inch to the right. Now take your left hand, cup it around the right side of your ribs. Hold that in and lift up that up off the right shoulder blade a little higher. Hand behind your head, back through center, right foot down, inhale to lower. Last time, exhale, lift up. Left leg reaches. Turn 1 inch to the left. Right hand cups around the left side of your ribs. Hold that in a little bit more. See if you can get up higher off that left shoulder blade. Amazing. Come back through center, right hand behind your head, foot down, and release. All right. So let's come around into a tabletop or quadruped on our hands and knees. Okay, so snug your knees in maybe a little bit more than you think you need to. We're gonna bring our right hand behind the head. Now take, as if you had a ponytail here, lift the back of your head, lift that ponytail up into your right hand so we're not just letting the head drop. Hold this left shoulder blade on your back ribs. We're gonna push down into the left hand and turn the ribs to the right. Come back through center, keep lifting the back of your head into your hand. Push down into the left hand, turn the ribs to the right. That left shoulder is not dipping forward. Come back through center. Let's do 3 more just like that. Notice here that you're still holding these lower front ribs in the body so that we're just really isolating this mid kind of thoracic spine. It tends to get a little restricted for many of us. And then we'll bring the right hand back to the floor, left hand behind your head, lift that ponytail, lift the back of your skull into your hand, hold these lower ribs in, and then rotating to the left and back through center. Rotating without letting that right shoulder dip forward. And back through center. 3 more. Last time. Nice work. Okay, so we're gonna come up into a downward facing dog. I'm gonna show down dog with blocks today. You're welcome to follow along with that or not. I'm going to tuck the toes, hold these lower front ribs in as you send the hips up for down dog. Keeping a lot of weight in your arms. Nice. Take a breath there. Nice. And then we're going to walk our fingers back for a high squat here. So having the fingertips forward, you can also be on blocks, but we're feeding these hip creases back as we hold the front ribs in. Just letting the head release there. Couple more breaths. Then you can walk your hands back a little bit more. We're going to turn to the right for a crossed ankle forward fold facing the back of the mat. And once again, you can have the hands elevated on some blocks here. You can bend your knees a lot. Do a little rib shimmy just side to side. Just noticing anywhere you feel a little bit of a restriction. Nice. And then from here, we're going to step the right foot back for a low lunge. Good. So coming on up here and feeling that this right hip is directly over the knee. Good. Got this right glute working. Bring your hands behind your head. And then take that ponytail or take the back of your skull and move it back into your hands, restraining the front ribs. You should feel a nice opening in the front of that right thigh. Take an inhale breath, and then exhale, rotate slightly to the left. Come back through center inhale. Exhale, rotate a little bit to the left. We're going to do 3 more of these, and notice that as you rotate, the pelvis is not changing. So that right hip stays exactly where it is. Keep working that right glute to stabilize as we turn in the ribcage. Last time. Nice. And then we're going to plant the hands floor or blocks. Downward facing dog, left leg reaches back. Nice. Now bend this right knee, and we're going to start to circle in that hip. It's got a nice little pop there. And so feel like you maybe make that move a little bit smaller so that we're not kind of bopping the pelvis all around, but just isolating that movement in the hip and switch directions. We'll set the left foot down and then walk your hands back for that high squat again, coming up onto the fingertips, and then kind of funnel these thigh bones back, that hip crease back, letting the head release. And then walk the fingers back a little bit more. We'll rotate to the left, this time facing the front of the mat again, crossed ankle, forward fold. You can just do a little rib shimmy, just side to side. Just mobilizing anything that needs it. Nice. And then uncrossing, we're going to slide the left foot back, lower the knee, come up for that low lunge. Really more of like a 90-90 position. Left hip directly over the knee, left glute is working to stabilize. Bring your hands behind your head again. And then move your head back into your hands while you're restraining these front ribs, so avoiding them kind of popping forward like that. Take an inhale breath. Exhale, rotate just a little bit to the right in the ribs. Inhale back through center. Exhale, rotate to the right. 3 more just like that on your own. Feel the work in that left glute so that that left hip is not turning with you. We're holding the pelvis steady and moving the ribs on top of it. We'll come back through center. Hands come down, floor or blocks, downward facing dog, right leg reaches back. Bend your right knee and then start to circle in the hip. So make that move small and just imagine the hip joint moving, that thigh bone really circling in the socket without moving the pelvis. Holding these front ribs in. 1 more breath. Going both directions. Nice. And then we'll step this right foot down, lower your knees for tabletop. And we're going to revisit this little open the book move that we did in the beginning, but make it a little bit different. So this time we're going to take the right arm, reach it up, keep pushing into the left hand, thread your right arm underneath your left, and maybe you come down onto the right side of your head. Just take a few breaths there. Noticing if you feel any differences You're just around the ribs, around the shoulders, and your ability to breathe a little bit deeper. Then push down into the left hand, bring the right hand back underneath you. Second side, push into the right hand, left arm reaches up, turning in the ribs, thread the left arm under the right, maybe coming onto the left side of your head. Still keeping a little bit of those lower front ribs pulled up. And breathing into the space in your back, the sides of the rib cage. Let it feel good. And then pushing down into the right hand. And then we'll just come around onto our backs. Just for a minute or two here, you can always have a block or a blanket behind your head. You can have your feet on the floor with the knees bent or maybe the legs straight. Just finding a place that feels comfortable, easy, and restful. And once you're there, just gently noticing that triple S feeling of those 3 points of contact on the floor without trying to force it. Just taking this time as we close to lock in this feeling that you were able to create in such a brief period of time today. Knowing that you have the ability to create these shifts and these changes whenever you need to, and as often as you need to. So let your next breath in be a little bit deeper. Exhaling, letting it go. And start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. And then as you're ready, rolling over to your favorite side on your way to pushing yourself back up to a seat. All right. Amazing, amazing job today. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your practice with me. If you enjoyed this class, it is super helpful for me if you give it a like and subscribe, as well as turn on the notifications so that you do not miss any classes that I'm posting throughout the week. And as always, thanks for being here, and I look forward to seeing you next time.